Hello Year 9, this is your first lesson of the week, and today we will be looking at a feedback from the reading and writing assessments that you did before half term. So for this lesson you will need a pen or a pencil and paper, or your laptop if you're working on your laptop, and a timer. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much to those who did their reading assessment. You were very good in doing it. Your results were known straight away, so there was no wondering, how did I do? The average mark was about 9 out of 17. So if you've done better than 9, then you know that you're above the average number. If you've done less than 9, then you need to be working a little bit harder. So let me give you some general feedback about what went well first. Generally, when you are looking at numbers, you did well on your basic numbers, so you managed to recognize basic numbers. You also did well in the vocabulary. So you have been looking at a certain amount of vocabulary over the past few weeks, and generally you understood basic vocabulary. Most of the questions using the present tense in the assessment, you managed them without problems. And you still understood as well some of the questions in the future. So when you managed to understand that it was the future, then you did well for the answers. And same for the past questions. So when you understood that the question was about the past and that in the text it was partly the past as well, then you understood the questions and gave me correct answers. However, now we're looking at what you need to work on generally. So, when there was more than one answer required, those couple of questions, you did not look at the number of points that were awarded. So, 1 point was for one answer. So, if the question was awarding 2 points, you needed to give 2 answers. And you sometimes ticked 3 of them. That didn't quite work out for you. Some of the questions in the past, you did not recognize the past tense in the text, so you did not manage to get a successful answer to that. And it works the same for the future. So if you didn't recognize that the tense of the sentence was in the future, you did not successfully answer the question. There was also a trick question where a question was asked, but the answer was nowhere in the text. So there was no answer to that question. So that one tricked you, and a lot of you failed to give me the right answer for that one. And finally, the wording of the question sometimes was misunderstood. So it means that you read the question too fast, and then your answer obviously didn't match the question. Okay, so now let's have a look at the writing assessment. Thank you very much to those of you, many of you, who completed their writing assessment. It was successful for the majority of you. You did as well as you could, and I'm pleased with that. So let's have a look first at what you did well generally. So remember, this is a general feedback. Your in-depth feedback has been given to you on your writing upload. So you need to be looking back at this. You will need to find your mark. You will need to be looking at the feedback, and it's the very first line of your feedback. So what did you do well generally? Your spelling of basic chore was accurate generally in the present tense. So you remembered how to spell your sentences correctly. Well done. Your verbs were generally in agreement with the subject. So it means that the spelling of the verbs at the end matched the subject. In the majority of you used opinions, which is very good, and you also used some justifications, which is very good as well. Some of you managed to use some intensifiers, you know, those little words like very or quite. And some of you used connectives. So when you used opinions and justifications, you used the basic connectives such as because. But some of you also used other connectives, more evolved ones like generally or however. Some of you managed to have some successful attempts at the future tense. So it means that you managed to write some of the verbs in the future tense correctly. And some of you as well managed to accurately write down verbs in the past tense. So either one of the past. Well done. Now, things that you need to keep working on because they're not quite there yet. The main one is a problem with the online translators. So a lot of you have used online translators when they were looking for vocabulary. But the problem is you use the wrong translation. So if I say the word, for example, rubbish, is it the adjective? This task is rubbish. Or is it the noun? The rubbish in the bin needs to be emptied. You didn't quite get that when using an online translator. So that's why it's actually playing against you to use online translators. You need to make sure that you use your vocab sheets or your revision cards where the vocab that is given to you is in the right context. Okay? Some of you have written using a computer or their phone, but the accents are not there. If you do not know how to use accents on a computer, then you need to be learning how to insert accents or symbols with accents. And sometimes if you did use the accents, they were the wrong way. So you need to make sure that you learn how to type accents on a computer, or you can alternatively just use a pen and a paper and write down everything. Either way, you need to learn how to make accents. Some of you didn't quite give me any opinions or justifications, so you need to make sure that it's included in your next piece of work so that you can get extra points for your work. Some of you only used one tense. One tense is good, but it's not enough to go and get the higher grades. So you need to make sure that you are not just using one tense, but you're including more than one tense. Some of you just gave me straight answers, but didn't give me any details. You can make it better. You can improve your grade by adding details. And some of you managed to write me a text, but missed out one or more of the topics. So some of you wrote about chores, but didn't tell me about pocket money or part-time job. Or some of you told me about part-time jobs, but then missed out the chores altogether. So you need to make sure that you look clearly at the brief and that you are including everything that is asked in the criteria. Okay, so now that I've given you a general feedback, you need to be making sure that you know what mark out of 26 you got in your writing assessment. And to find that mark, you need to go back into the last upload that you've done and find the feedback for your writing assessment. And the mark is on the first line of my feedback. So find the feedback. If you did not submit a writing task, then your mark is 0. Your only task for today is for you to look now at what you got for your writing assessment. And then depending on your mark, you will need to complete one of the 3 colored boxes on that slide. So if your mark was between 0 and 9, and that's including the people who didn't submit a writing assessment, you need to translate the 10 expressions in the green box. So write down the word green and then write down 1 to 10 and the word straight in French, sorry. If you had a mark between 10 and 16 out of 26, then you need to look at the amber box and you need to look at the text and find the 12 mistakes from that text and correct them. So write the word amber and then write the 12 mistakes with their correction. So for example, if the first mistake is the first word of the text, P-O-U-R, you write P-O-U-R, and if you think that it should have an E at the end, then you write correction, P-O-U-R-E. Okay, so you need 12 of them. And if your mark was between 17 and 26 in your writing assessment, then I need you to look at the red box at the bottom and I need you to translate the text that's in English into French. That's it. Okay? So write down the word red and then write your text in French straight away. You will need to pause the video and you will have a maximum of 10 minutes to complete your task. Okay, year 9, so this is the end of today's lesson. So before you close the video, can you make sure that you go on class charts and upload your writing task according to your writing assessment mark? And that's it for today. Thank you.